Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. This is our Ask Brother Leonard session. We're going it's the 2nd of March 2022. And we're going to do, I'm asking everybody to like, share, and subscribe to Prophets of Awakening channel. And hit the notification button if you can. And for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament, and the so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai by the Lord of Hosts, our Redeemer. So I'm asking everybody, I want to say shalom and welcome everyone to Prophets of Awakening channel, and welcome to our Ask Brother Leonard session. So with that being said, we're going to do our moment of silence, our prayer, Psalms, current events, and then we'll do a little need to know information. And then we'll go into the Ask Brother Leonard segment. Okay. Going to do our prayer. And then we're going to do a song. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servant David, Solomon, Samuel, and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. And give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad, for you possess the power to do just that. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments and your testimony and your statutes with all our heart and soul, to perform the words of this covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea. Hear and do, O Lord, and hide not thy face from us any longer, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay.
Hallelujah.
With that being said, we're going to read the Psalms. Okay. We read Psalm 92. It's praises for the Lord's goodness. Okay, it's a song for the Sabbath day. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night, upon an instrument of 10 strings, and upon a pastry, and upon a harp, with a solemn sound. For thou, Lord, hast made me glad through thy work. I will triumph in the works of thine hands. O Lord, how great are thy works, and thy thoughts are very deep. A brutish man knoweth not, neither doeth a fool understand this. When the wicked springs as grass, and when all the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. But thou, Lord, art most high forevermore. For lo, thine enemies, O Lord, for lo, thine enemies shall perish. All the workers of iniquity shall be scattered. But my horn shalt thou exalt, like the horn of a unicorn, and I shall be anointed, with flesh oil. Mine eye also shall see my desire of mine enemies, and mine ears shall hear my desire of the wicked that rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like a palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in the Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of God. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing, to show that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. So that's Psalm 92. Praises for the Lord's goodness. Any comments or anything that I heard you want to shed a light on? Okay, I was looking at something right here. It says, chapter verse 10. It says, That's David. See, it's just David talking, and it says in 10, my horn, to that, my horn shall thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn. I shall be anointed with flesh, the flesh of oil. My eyes also shall see my desires of mine enemies, and my ears shall hear my desire of the wicked that rise up against me. So when you understand that, he says my horn, right? So let's go to Psalm 132. I didn't read this before, and I done had a class on it, but let me shine a light on it right here. So in Psalm 132, you discover that David is the anointing, and the Most High got uh, covenant with David. So it says in verse 10 of 132, for thy servants David's sake, turn not away thy face for thy anointing. So we see David is anointed. The Lord has sworn truth unto David. He will not turn from me or the fruit of thy body. Okay, get this. He says, for the Lord hath sworn truth unto David. He will not turn from me or the fruit of thy body will I set upon thy throne. That's his son, his descendant. If thy children will keep my covenant and my testimony that I shall teach them, their children shall also sit upon thy throne forevermore. For the Lord hath chosen Zion. He hath desired it for his habitation. This is my rest forever. Here will I dwell, for I have desired it. I will abundantly bless her provisions. I will satisfy her poor with bread, and I will also clothe her priests with salvation, and her saints shall shout aloud for joy. Here we go. This precept, 132, verse 17. There will I make the horn of David to bud. I have ordained a lamp for mine anointing. His enemy will I clothe with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish. So he's going to resurrect David, just like he's going to resurrect the rest of our forefathers in Ezekiel 37. Dry bones, that's what they're talking about. But notice he says in 17, there will I make the horn of David. This is the Most High talking. There will I make the horn of David bud. David dead. So if you're going to make the horn of David bud, you're going to resurrect a bud, just like a tree or a rose bush. You know, winter comes and it fade away. Then when spring comes, it buds again, come back to life. So it says, there will I make the horn of David the bud. I have ordained a lamp for my anointing. So you go back to Psalms 92, and he says, verse 10, but my horn, now David talking right here, my horn shall thou exalt, talking to the Most High, like the horn of a unicorn, and shall be the anointed with flesh, fresh oil, with fresh oil. Okay, so we see right there, those two precepts support each other. Okay, so everybody good with that? Psalms 92?
Yes.
Anybody got any current events?
I don't have any really current event, just a little note information concerning this channel that I found, and I don't know if anybody else knows about it, but it's called Mississippi Survivor, and it's a gentleman, and he gives great survival tips, things that you need to be shopping for, putting away, how to store it, how to grow certain things. He just has a great informational channel, and I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Okay, yeah. It's time to start doing it and you're paying attention to what's going on. Time to start getting all your ducks in a row. I'm quite sure a lot of those Ukrainian people who stayed there got their ducks in a row. They had no idea the atrocities that came upon them
Right,
overnight.
right. I was watching a video on that today where they were saying that the African students and stuff that was over there,
Right.
like they was sort of blocking them from getting, on the train to leave, and then when they did leave and they made it to the border, they really was not giving them any place to stay. Like they had to stay like outside.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, I
So,
saw something
Did you
about
see
that.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
right.
cannot remember that channel. I was trying to find the channel that I
Yeah,
watched that on, but
it's a
yeah.
lot of people. There's a lot of people that mention that. A lot of the Israelite channels that mention that. And the thing about it is, I mentioned it before. You know, you have a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I'm a good person," or "I'm this and that," but it's way more. It's way bigger than you being a good person. It's way bigger than that. So you say, "Well, why at this time and this hour and you know this time in the Most High prophecies that you know these people get uprooted like this by you know Russia and all that?" Well, you see why. You know, in a situation like that, as dire as it is, they still got enough nerve to be racist. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like it's no limit to their hatred, like the Most High said. And they thinking that the drama and all this coming on them for other reasons, but it's that you ain't never addressed it. Most High said that they got a perpetual hatred. You're gonna get their mind right because of that perpetual hatred, which mean they never addressed it. It's deep seated and you ain't never addressed it. No. So yeah.
Right. That was on the Lisa Cabrera. I think that's how
Okay.
you pronounce her last name. That was on her channel that I watched. And then another channel that I was watching today was called We Woke Now, and it was titled Anything But the Negro. And you know they was talking about how they was giving reparations to like the Afghanistans that they brought over here, the Mexicans and so forth. So that was a good video too.
Okay. Right. Okay. So anybody else got anything on that? Yeah, another thing about that, I mean, you know, what you have to do on that situation is I was telling you about how super slick and how super slick Esau is. And like I was saying before, when you go back and understand that Most High said that the giants, because of the way they was conceived and the spirit that dwelled within them while they are alive upon the earth, it didn't come from him. So when that giant died, or any other being that came from those fallen angels, when they died, that spirit didn't come from heaven, so it roamed the earth. So the same wicked ass spirit that was tormenting your great great grandfather thousands of years ago, the same one tormenting you. Could be the same one tormenting you. So the reason I'm saying that is trial and error. They super sharp by now. When you do something over and over and over again, especially that long, you super sharp with it. So Esau's super sharp because he's dealing with them. He's super sharp. So it's been prophesied. First of all, look what he did with the New Testament. You know, it's a masterpiece. It's a lie, but it's a masterpiece because it got so many of us Israelites thrown off. JC a masterpiece. So you look at we waking up. That was a prophecy. That's prophesied he's gonna wake up. Well, that woke, that's Esau concoction. Because they ain't talking about the awoke that we awakening that we are. They talking about Christianity. And you have to be, you gotta go all the way in on that. Just like with uh well, I showed you a little bit of it the other day. These three people made a video about them being woke, but they're trying to get you back into the church. They're trying to backdoor you back in the church, but they're using Israelite jargon, things that the Israelites would say. And even when you hear me say Hebrew Christian, look at these different groups. All of a sudden now they got Israelite churches, Israelite names. Like the guy down in Lafayette, Louisiana, he got the big church and the big name. You got Pastor Doherty. he big with a lot of Hebrew Israelites, but you know they dealing with the New Testament. They dealing with Christianity, but at the same time they dealing with Christianity, but at the same time they trying to use Hebrew Israelite stuff to to suck you in, but they taking you back door through the same building. You didn't walk out of the church through the front door. They trying to hoodwink you and back door you back and bring you back in the church through the back door. So you have to be aware of that. They using Hebrew Israelite, like I said, using Hebrew Israelite words and slogans and phrases and all that and concepts, but they're still Christians. And so that tells me, I don't know about nobody else, but that tells me that, you a paid agent. You're a paid agent. You among awakened Israelites, but you're a paid agent. And then you wonder why so many of them still holding on to JC. They ain't trying to. They ain't awakened. They ain't trying to dig to the truth. They set on the fact that what these folks have set up at the Council of Nicaea, and to the day they still riding with it. Like I said, they paid agents. And there's a lot of them running around. Okay.
Yeah, and I just can't believe people that have a little bit of knowledge is falling back into that, falling for it.
Yeah.
That's kind of. I mean, because like you said, they really are just when they believing in both books, they really are still Christians. They just don't call it um Christianity, but it's still you still if you believing in both books, still a Christian.
Right. Like for instance, I mean, if you go back to I can't think of the name of the movie. It just came out. It was about Nat Turner. Came out a couple years ago. What was the name of that movie? Birth of a Nation.
Yeah.
So remember, they had a white guy sitting in the church with the black folk, and he had told the black pastor what to say. Well, they can't do that no more because the black folks gonna get in an uproar. They're gonna say, what is white man sitting up there for? So they didn't train the black man. He ain't got to sit in there no more. He's still there, but he don't have to be there physically.
Right.
He dictating what the pastor's saying. He ain't got no revelation from heaven. Everything he got from him, from the seminaries and everything else, he ain't got no revelations from the Most High. Because if he did, the first thing he do is get rid of JC. Okay? Yeah. So anyway, I got a couple of, anybody else got anything on that? Man, so you got to be careful on that. Like I said, and even how they spell it. Woke. They spell it WOKE.
Yep.
They ain't got nothing to do with no Hebrew Israelite.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we go one right here. Like I said, everything to tighten up now. So, I mean, if you ain't paying attention to the world scene, there's something wrong with you. You see that?
Yes.
For military intervention. Russia.
Yeah, this right here that went viral on TikTok and every social media platform. All right.
Violated all our legal system, all international laws, all possible international laws. They just wanted to take us by force and control. Don't please prevent the new genocide of Ukrainians here. And the only way how you can do this, only by force. I never wanted anyone to kill anyone. I'm the most peaceful person in the world, and Ukrainians are. But they are just coming and they are just killing us. So please stop them. Please come and save us.
All right, that woman has become sort of like an international rock star. She, of course, holed up in a shelter right now in Ukraine with her three children, and she's fighting the good fight and says that the Ukrainians will never give up that fight. Joining me right now is our former UN ambassador, former director of national intelligence, so much more, John Negroponte. Ambassador, good to have
Yeah, I want to show you something right here. You see this guy that's the one that's the anchor, news anchor?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you see what's behind him, right? You paying attention to that? Okay, just so you know, those are the colors of the Ukrainian flag. I don't know if you're paying attention to that, but they waving that all over the place, and a lot of these European, Anglo-Saxon folks, they all in behind the so-called courage that the Ukrainian people got. So they wearing these things, they wearing these colors. In the last 7 days, they've been wearing these colors. These colors is the Ukrainian flag. So, like I said before, this ain't normally behind him. See what's behind this guy over here? So this Fox News with the Ukrainian colors behind him. I'm showing you that for a reason. So anyway, keep going.
The fight of the Ukrainian people is not in doubt here, that's for sure. But I'm wondering, the more they show it, and the more frustrated Vladimir Putin gets, what next?
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for having me on your show, Neil. Yeah, I mean, I wonder the next thing, because Putin having the kind of personality he does, it makes me wonder whether he's just going to throw more at it. The more resistance he gets, the more he'll throw at it. And of course, in the end, Russia's a larger, more powerful country, got a much stronger and bigger military, and ultimately even has nuclear weapons. Not that those are necessarily going to be contemplated by Mr. Putin, although he's made some unfortunate gestures, I think. But yeah, I think there's a big risk out there that ultimately Putin is going to just seek to inflict as much punishment as he can on the country of Ukraine. But that's not to say that we haven't done a lot to help. I think both in terms of military assistance, I think the response of Europe is really heartening and encouraging. You've seen a turnaround in a number of different countries, like Germany, now willing to export lethal weapons to another country and things like that.
Yeah, so if you're paying attention, the whole world, especially the European, all the nations in the NATO and the European nations, they did 180-degree turn. Now all of them getting involved. They raising money. They sending soldiers and weapons and all that to Ukraine. It's the old adage, the underdog. When you see the underdog, everybody go for the underdog. So it's like this big superpower of Russia beating on Ukraine. And so they're using, because that's what it is, they're using propaganda, which go all the way back to Alexander the Great and all that. They're using propaganda and you got the whole world thinking that these Ukrainians is fierce people and they fighting back and they holding off of the beast, and all that. So they all rally behind them. But go back to what the Most High did, the Lord of Hosts did with, Pharaoh. He set the Pharaoh up because the Israelites had no idea that he was going to drag Pharaoh out in the middle of the Red Sea and drown him. They were spellbound. They had immense pressure on them. They was being tortured and brutalized for 400 and some years. And they didn't see no way out of there. So you got to imagine what came over them when he closed in the Red Sea on all the Egyptian people. So what you're looking at right here, remember, you heard this. You can fumble with it if you want. So all that's happening right here is that, they jumping up, all the countries all over the world jumping up to help these people right here. Where was all this support when they came and drug us from the West Coast of Africa? And now that everybody knows what they done, it's all out in the open. Where the support at now? That's where these Russians and Chinamen gonna come in at. Putin already said. How you over here fighting, trying to back these people when all the atrocities and all the ruthless and violent and animalistic things you done did to the people over there in your country, you're still doing it. And guess what? Then that's what's going to trigger our reparations, because they got to fix it. Remember I said that. That's what's going on. They're being set up because you jumping behind these Ukrainians. Look at all the shit happening to us over here. Everybody know it. All these same countries know it. They know the whole story. That's what's coming. They're being set up. Okay? In comment. So, I mean, I don't know if anybody paying attention to that, but look at it. Start looking at it on the news. There's this big old rally behind the Ukrainian people. And this ain't no different than what they did with the Jews. And then the worst Holocaust ever happened in world history was when the transatlantic slave trade. So 2022, you all about humanitarian aid and all this. You got to go back and fix that. And the Russians and the Chinese gonna stick it in their face. And they already did it before. They're gonna come back and do it again. Man, they got, like I said, you're gonna have to do a 180-degree turn. They're gonna have to fix that. Okay. So with that being said, we got a couple more. Yeah. Keep that in the back of your head. Okay. I was telling you, yeah, that's what I lost last night. I'm gonna bring it back tonight. It's right here. Real important. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so it says Putin strongman allied may have accidentally shaped or shared a map of Russia's and Ukrainian invasion plan. So this guy right here, this is strongman. See that? There go the king, you go to strongman. The strongman is the Lord of hosts. They ain't the same. It's the king. Go back to Isaiah, right? Go back to Isaiah 44:6. I'm the king and my redeemer, the Lord of hosts. Lord of hosts and Yahweh ain't the same person. That's why the scriptures make a point to say the Lord of hosts. That's why Isaiah said, the Lord of hosts who gave me my three sons dwells in Zion. That ain't in heaven. Yahweh in heaven. Lord of hosts, the mighty one, the almighty Yahweh, he in heaven. But the Lord of hosts dwells in Zion. That's the most high footstool. That's why he said my footstool. So here we go. Here go the strong one, the Lord of hosts. This the king. This is strong man. I showed you in Esther. I mean, in the book of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, and he sent out Harphan. Harphan was a strong man. He the one who was going out afflicting damage on everybody. He got his orders and his commandments from the Lord, from his king. So here it is right here in the face. So they ain't doing it. Where they get this from? You go all the way back to Nebuchadnezzar, because he saw Nebuchadnezzar, you the head. You the head of gold, because Nebuchadnezzar the one set it up. Even down to the point where you had 7 princes. Even Artaxerxes. With the story with Esther, when Esther broke in the chamber and interrupted that meeting, he was in there with his 7 counselors. We got all this from the Most High, what they seen. So there it is, right there. I'm just showing it to you. So this the strong man. See what the title say? Putin strong man. They go to strong man. Him and Putin ain't the same. See that? They ain't the same. 2 different beings, 2 different entities. Okay. So when you read the scriptures of the Old Testament, you got to read it in that context, and then open up for you. Okay. So let's keep going. Okay. Okay, yeah, let me play this right here. Can you see that?
No, we're still on the screen.
Can't see it?
No.
Okay, hold up. Okay, oh my bad. Okay, you see it now, right?
Yes, it's coming up. Yes.
A global supply chain breakdown is on the horizon, and it is likely to cause unforeseen damage all across the industry, accelerating the decay of this complex dynamic system and disrupting global trade for a prolonged period. That means our domestic food and energy supplies are on the line. And according to experts, if the global outlook doesn't improve in the near term, we might soon have to start rationing food. But before we enter today's discussion, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button to keep updated with future videos. The shipping industry is being seriously impacted by the escalating tensions between Russia and Ukraine. A new analysis indicates that the industry is set to face an even worse labor crunch, as over 15% of the world's seafarers come from the two countries. Last week, the U.S. imposed sweeping restrictions on Russia's financial sector. Soon after, the U.K. and Japan followed the same move. In a matter of days, development banks, VEB and PSB, as well as Russia's top two lenders, Sberbank and VTB, were all blocked out of SWIFT, the system that allows the financial institutions to conduct international transactions. This week, U.S. officials suggested that new sanctions would target Russian energy exports. Russia's oil and gas exports would be firmly in the firing line of any sanctions, given that they are the lifeblood of Russia's economy, accounting for around 40% of Russia's revenues, as explained by brokerage BRS on Monday. However, such sanctions are likely to have far-reaching and unintended consequences for the United States and the entire world. Industry strategists are warning that Western restrictions are going to make it difficult to pay seafarers from both countries, which will consequently lead to a manpower shortage all across supply chains, at a time that the sector is already plagued by a severe scarcity of labor. According to a report released by Tradewinds, citing ship owners and ship managers who supply workers to vessels, if shipping companies have problems moving crew in and out of both countries, that could also result in another crew change crisis. Adding that to the lack of payment, millions of seafarers could simply exit the industry, leading to the aggravation of delays and disruptions all over the globe. With 90% of global trade transported on ships, supply chains could be further disrupted, warned the International Chamber of Shipping, the ICS. To maintain this unfettered trade, seafarers must be able to join and disembark ships to be able to make crew changes freely across the world.
The long-pin method to having a tool that satisfies.
So they're trying to put these sanctions on Russia, but
The ICS
press
release.
It's called
The Chamber estimates that 10.5% of the world's seafarers are Russian, and another 4% of them are Ukrainian. The ability to pay seafarers also needs to be maintained by international banking systems, the ICS. Over the past 2 years, the shipping industry continuously faced labor issues and operational problems due to vaccine mandates, border controls, isolation requirements, and movement restrictions amid the virus health crisis. Operational challenges are likely to intensify with the worsening global conflict. One ship manager told Tradewinds, "What do we do if we have crew members from both countries on the same ship? The whole thing is going to be an operational nightmare," he added. There may also not be enough workers in the first place. Other ship managers who supply crew to major shipping companies also expect many seafarers to be recruited to fight for their countries, Tradewinds cautioned. The concerns about an aggravating labor crunch in shipping come as container freight rates record another massive jump. According to the Drewry World Container Index released earlier this week, the spot rate for a 40-foot container from Shanghai to Los Angeles rose another $11,030 since the conflict began.
Yeah, I've been calling myself keeping everybody up on what's going on with these shipping containers and all that. So this crisis going on right now in Ukraine and Russia is just making it even worse. So, anybody got any comments on that? Okay, everybody good with that? Let me I got some need to know information right here. Play that and then we're gonna go into Ask Brother Leonard. Okay. This got to do with what I was talking about earlier about us being delivered, and not every captivity we went into, we left with great substance. So, you know, that's automatic. We need that great substance in order to build back up Israel, build back up Jerusalem. So that's a requirement that the Most High put on the nations that oppress us, is that we lead them with great wealth. So here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
See?
Support for this program is provided by
Afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephen Henderson, and welcome to our American Black Journal and Bridge Detroit Town Hall on reparations for African Americans. Thanks for taking a break in the middle of your afternoon to join us for this really important conversation. Over the next hour, we're going to talk about what is owed to the descendants of African slaves and the survivors of Jim Crow and the other discrimination that has held our nation in its clutches since the beginning. How should the United States compensate African Americans? And if we do engage in some experiment with reparations, American reparations, will that help close the wealth gap, for instance, between whites and blacks? We're also going to talk about this new Detroit task force that is going to explore reparations to address past discrimination right here in our own city. So, as always, if you have a question or you want to just talk about this issue with us during this conversation, all you have to do is submit them in the comment section, and I will try to get to all of them during the hour. We want to get started with a look at what Detroiters themselves think about reparations. American Black Journal producer A.J. Walker got a random sampling of opinions out on our streets. Take a look.
While hard at work, Timothy Albert stops to weigh in on a serious question. Do you think descendants of slaves should get reparations?
Sure. We should get checks from the government or give us some grants so we can start our businesses and everything and pay our employees. Yes, we need help. And the other race get it, why can't we get it?
We caught up with Marcus Smith, who agrees.
I do believe descendants of slaves should get reparations. Actually, my grandmother was a sharecropper and her father was a slave in Selma, Alabama. So I believe that they should, because my grandmother is still alive and the impacts that she had to go through are still taught and remembered by her. I do feel like reparations should come in the monetary form.
Holocaust survivors have been given billions of dollars from the German government for the horror committed against Jewish people.
This is what I was talking about right here. And the Russian president and the Chinese president, they already said this. So really, nobody ain't got no right to be running out doing nothing because you ain't fixed the problem. The biggest atrocity that ever happened. Displacement of people and cruelty to people, you ain't never addressed it. Now you trying to run and do all this stuff now and try to address it. You got to go back and fix what you already done. The hole in your head already. That's what's coming.
During World War II, 100,000 people of Japanese descent in the United States were deemed a threat to national security and forcibly relocated from their homes and detained in internment camps. Years later, President Ronald Reagan signed the Civil Liberties Act, which offered a formal apology and paid $20,000 to each survivor. Native Americans have also received compensation for the atrocities committed against them. Recognized tribes are eligible for funding and services through the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Tax preparer Dwayne Mathis thinks descendants of American slaves should get reparations. He thinks it would help close the wealth gap between African Americans and others.
I think that reparations should be a set amount of money. Whereas at least people can get into business and kind of level the playing field as well.
He says he would definitely be entitled if reparations ever came to pass.
My grandfather was a slave as well. He's from Macon, Georgia. His name was John Henry Mathis.
But for some, the question of reparations is a difficult one. Do you think descendants of slaves should be entitled to reparations?
Yes.
Why do you think that?
Well, it's really a good question, though. It's really a good question, and I answered it too quick. I gotta think about it. That's a good question. I have to research that because I wouldn't know how to answer it. I'm a right now person. Like anything in the past, it happens, but I'm more of a focus on right now person. And I just pray for the past because I'm a man of God. So I pray for the past, and whatever the past receives, that's what the past have to get. So that's what I'm on.
Sam Carter supports reparations, but he doesn't think it should come in the form of money.
I think they should get something. Giving people money doesn't help them. But the fact that we have to pay so much for education, we have to have so many skills and still don't get jobs that pay us enough. I kind of wonder what would satisfy. Free college would probably help. Something like that. But just giving people money, I don't think we'd appreciate it.
Michael Coley says reparations are badly needed.
We over here struggling to find jobs. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that is not right for us black folks that's in America that's really struggling out here.
the exercise of thinking about reparations. Joining me now is Lauren Hood. She's a major contributor to the analysis behind the proposal that Detroiters passed last year, and she's the chair of the Detroit Planning Commission. Lauren, welcome to the town hall.
Thank you. Hi, Stephen.
Also here with us is Keith Williams. He is chair of the Michigan Democratic Party's Black Caucus. Keith, welcome.
How you doing, my friend?
Yes, it's good to see you both. Okay, so Lauren, I'm going to start with you. Let's talk about what Detroiters approved last year and what the status is of this task force. What will we see in the coming months?
Well, Stephen, it's a challenge.
It always is.
So I'll talk a little bit about this group of us that meets. So there's myself, cousin Keith over here, Council President Sheffield and her people. We had Jamon Jordan in the conversation earlier for the historical lens. There's some other grassroots activists that have been coming to the conversation. So we're kind of a de facto steering committee. And like you said, have been engaged since November. So we as a group are trying to make the most authentic and inclusive process possible, but there's always a tension with getting something done and being inclusive, because the longer it takes to do something, the more inclusive you can be. But then we're also contending with this pressure from folks to like see something happening. It's always my contention, like the subject of reparations, like this is sacred work. We're overturning generations of trauma here. Like this is something that's going to take a lot of time to get it right, but folks are like, where's my check? So there's this tension of those two things. And I think what our group is trying to consider is what can we do now? We need some direct service because there are people struggling now, but also create a long enough runway where we can get this right. Because this is sacred work. There's a lot tied up in here. It's not just like a wealth gap, it's like a hope gap, a worthiness gap, a self-respect gap. There's a lot tied into what reparations can and should do.
And we should be clear. What Detroiters approved last year was just the initial step, right? Just to take a look. What are the things that might go into a consideration of reparations? What is the history that brought us to where we are? And then get to, okay, well, here are some ways we can make up for that. So the patience you're talking about was wrapped in the ballot proposal itself. And is really important for all of us to keep in mind.
And we need education too. So, you saw that guy in the opening segment when he was asked about reparations. It's not that people don't get it. It's like we haven't had the time to think about it. We haven't had the luxury or the privilege of time to really dig into the history and dig into the possibility. So we need a huge educational campaign before people can even ask for something.
Keith, the Black Caucus commissioned a poll that showed majority of Detroiters support reparations for past discriminatory housing policies and practices here in the city. Talk about those feelings and what you feel those reparations could look like. All of us remember, I think, the struggle that African Americans had to own homes in many places here in Detroit. I think a lot of people know about the struggles that we have right now keeping homes in the city of Detroit. Tell us about what Detroiters think about what we should do about all that.
When we got involved in this, I got involved because of Robert Ruth Simmons. I was looking at Channel 7 one night, and she was on, and she was talking about this little town in Evansville, Illinois. I was so impressed after the show. My wife was saying, I said, I'm getting ready to call this young lady. So I inboxed her, and she called me back. And so I was inspired by, she took a little city of 75,000 folks, 80% African American, and created this new economic engine. And so I said, if she can do it here, then why can't we do it in Detroit? And then, so I got involved. Then to delve off into this, you got to know the history of Detroit. Like you said in your opening, from slavery, then 1900 there was 6,000 blacks. Then you go to 1931. That's when the influx of blacks came from the South and then to come to work for Ford Motor Company. Then they had to have a place to stay, and they moved us over there, black bottom and things like that. And so I got to seeing, so I got to think about how much wealth was stolen from us, okay? And so if you look at it, then Black Bottom, and then this 375 movement, then 1941 on Birdwood Street, how they used federal dollars under the auspice of urban development, as well as they did Black Bottom. We didn't have a place to stay. And they did it with ordinances, restrictive covenants, and using the word.
Like I said, they super sharp. They're doing things and it got you thinking that you're not productive and all that, but they're super sharp. They know just how to put you in a bind. Yeah.
Slums, so they can use it as urban development money. And then I got more deep into it than I realized up.
So we just gonna come.
But we just gotta keep pressing, and our day will come.
Hey, Andre Perry, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, I want to welcome our previous panel back to wrap things up. Reverend Joanne Watson, Lauren Hood, and Keith Williams to join Andre Perry. So, Lauren, we only have about 5 minutes left. I want to have you talk just a little more about how people who live here in the city and have maybe heard something about this, but don't know everything about it. How can they get involved? Is this something that they can take part in? And, how can they learn more about what is going
on? Well, the work is in very early stages. There is a first public meeting on February 24th in the evening, 100% virtual, where the discussion will be around the composition of the task force, the criteria. We're going to talk about term limits. Again, trying to be as inclusive as possible. We didn't even want to get in front of people with outlining what the task force would look like. So this is a first conversation to hear input from folks, like what it should look like and what should be the selection criteria. So that is the first phase. I would say follow Council President Sheffield's page, sign up for the newsletter alerts, and you will be notified. But this is just the beginning of a long series of conversations with citizens in the city of Detroit. This isn't the only opportunity to get engaged, it's just the first.
So do you imagine that you will have to go back to voters at some point with some other questions?
Well, I think so. There are things within council's power that I know they can just resolve to do. But I think, again, in the essence of being inclusive, they may want to put something on the ballot just so we can, demonstrate that there's that citizen support.
Okay, so this is, if you want to watch this video, it's on YouTube. It's Reparations, What is Owed to Black Americans. So like I was saying before, I'm just laying the foundation, showing you that this is what Putin and the Chinese presidents, this is what they're setting up. And like I say, just keep your eyes on this. All this they're talking about right here. We in the position we're in now because everybody else has been dogged out and did everything, but they came back and reparated. But they haven't did that to us, and we received the worst punishment. We didn't receive the brunt of all the wickedness. And then nobody don't want to fix it. And like I said before, look at what they're doing now. All of a sudden, with these Ukrainian people, you gotta fix the gaping hole first before you start trying to do anything else. Right. So Chinese and the Russians is bringing that to the light. The Most High using them to do it. Okay. And reparations are already full speed ahead. It's like a snowball coming down the hill. And then what they doing is, It's only one result. Okay? Any comments? Any comments? Okay. So we're at the Ask Brother Leonard segment. We're gonna tie it into our Q&A. So anybody got any anything they want to comment about anything or questions they want to bring up? Anything they came across?
Well, going back to the video you just had, I was thinking as he was talking, and they were asking, and they find the people that they know can't answer the question about the reparations.
Right.
And, to make them look like, they don't deserve and we're not deserving it. We would just waste the money. But the guy that was in the, it looked like he was on the bus. And he was saying he don't think they should get, that we should get money. It should be, I don't understand when people think that we should get, because if they let you go to college, then you still giving the money back to them. Plus, when you get finished, you still got to ask for them to give you jobs. That would be stupid.
Right.
To what is a college degree going to do? You're going to still be in the same racist society.
Right.
So I don't understand when people say that. And then the guy who said he didn't know why, and it was ridiculous.
Right, exactly. Right. They seem like they picked the wrong people to ask those questions to.
It was exactly what they did. The last two. Oh.
Right. Exactly. Is there something? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Yeah. Well, so I'm trying to tag this Ask Brother Leonard thing up. So I got 3 situations, and I'm gonna play the video, then we'll get comments off of it. And the first one is what's going on. A lot of people don't, they don't do their homework. So this is about it's the rise of China, how China rose. Understanding the rise of China. It means a lot when you understand that. So can you see that?
Yes, it came up.
Okay.
The world is changing with really remarkable speed. If you look at the...
So this was done in 2011. This was so shocking about this information.
Chart at the top here, you'll see that in 2025, these Goldman Sachs projections suggest that the Chinese economy will be almost the same size as the American economy. And if you look at the chart for 2050, it's projected that the Chinese economy will be twice the size of the American economy.
So if you just look at that right there, they're telling you right here, something's gonna happen in between. You know what I'm saying? Something major gonna happen. We're in the midst of it right now. Something major gonna happen for China to supersede America with that great amount of with that much. That means America to fail. So something happened. And like I said, we're in the midst of it right now.
Economy and the Indian economy will be almost the same size as the American economy.
We should bear in mind
here that these projections were drawn up before the Western financial crisis. A couple of weeks ago, I was looking at the latest projection by BNP Paribas for when China will have a larger economy than the United States. Goldman Sachs projected 2027. The post-crisis projection is 2020. That's just a decade away. China is going to change the world in 2 fundamental respects. First of all, it's a huge developing country with a population of 1.3 billion people, which has been growing for over 30 years at around 10% a year. And within a decade, it will have the largest economy in the world. Never before in the modern era has the largest economy in the world been that of a developing country rather than a developed country. Secondly, for the first time in the modern era, the dominant country in the world, which I think is what China will become, will be not from the West and from very, very different civilizational roots. Now, I know it's a widespread assumption in the West that as countries modernize, they also westernize. This is an illusion. It's an assumption that modernity is a product simply of competition, markets, and technology. It is not. It is also shaped equally by history and culture. China is not like the West, and it will not become like the West. It will remain in very fundamental respects very different. Now, the big question here is obviously, well, how do we make sense of China? How do we try and understand what China is? And the problem we have in the West at the moment, by and large, is that the conventional approach is that we understand it really in Western terms using Western ideas. We can't. Now, I want to offer you 3 building blocks for trying to understand what China is like, just as a beginning. The first is this, that China is not really a nation state. Okay, it's called itself a nation state for the last 100 years. But anyone knows anything about China knows it's a lot older than this. This was what China looked with the victory of the Qin dynasty in 221 BC at the end of the Warring State period, the birth of modern China. And you can see it against the boundaries of modern China. Or immediately afterwards, the Han dynasty, still 2,000 years ago, and you can see already it occupies most of what we now know as Eastern China, which is where the vast majority of Chinese lived then and lived now. Now, what is extraordinary about this is what gives China its sense of being China? What gives the Chinese the sense of what it is to be Chinese comes not from the last 100 years, not from the nation state period, which is what happened in the West, but from the period, if you like, of the civilization state. I'm thinking here, for example, of customs like ancestral worship, of a very distinctive notion of the state, likewise a very distinctive notion of the family, social relationships like Guangzhou, Confucian values, and so on. These are all things that come from the period of the civilization state. In other words, China, unlike the Western states and like most countries in the world, is shaped by its sense of civilization, its existence as a civilization state, rather than as a nation state. And there's one other thing to add to this, and that is this. Of course, we know China's big, huge, demographically and geographically, with a population of 1.3 billion people. What we often don't really are aware of is the fact that China is extremely diverse and very pluralistic, and in many ways very decentralized. You can't run a place on this scale simply from Beijing, even though we think this to be the case. It's never been the case. So this is China, a civilization state rather than a nation state. Well, what does it mean? Well, I think it has all sorts of profound implications. I'll give you 2 quick ones. The first is that the most important political...
So, like I said before, where is all this at? We're looking at it. You know what I'm saying? So, where is all this at in Revelation? We're looking at it now. This is 2010. Now we're looking at it. So, the naysayers and the rabbis and all them say America is Babylon. So where is this at? Where China at? Where all this going on? And you see how huge it is on the map. Where is that in this prophecy? See? Most High making them look like fools.
Value for the Chinese is unity, is the maintenance of Chinese civilization. You know, 2,000 years ago, Europe break down the fragmentation of the Holy Roman Empire. It divided, and it's remained divided ever since. China, over the same time period, went in exactly the opposite direction, very painfully holding this huge civilization state together. The second is maybe more prosaic, which is Hong Kong. Do you remember the handover of Hong Kong? by Britain to China in 1997. You may remember what the Chinese constitutional proposition was. One country, two systems. And I'll lay a wager that barely... but this, alas, is no longer true. If you want to feel the future, if you want to taste the future, try China, as old Confucius. This is a railway station, the like of which you've never seen before. It doesn't even look like a railway station. This is the new Guangzhou railway station for the high-speed trains. China already has more of the bigger network than any other country in the world, and will soon have more than all the rest of the world put together. Or take this. Now, this is an idea, but it's an idea to be tried out shortly in a suburb of Beijing. Here you have a megabus. On the upper deck carries about 2,000 people. It travels on rails down a suburban road, and the cars travel underneath it. And it does speeds of up to about 100 miles an hour. Now, this is the way things are going to move, because China has a very specific problem, which is different from Europe and different from the United States. China has huge numbers of people and no space. So this is a solution to a situation where China is going to have many cities, over 20 million people. Okay, so how would I like to finish? Well, what should our attitude be towards this world that we see very rapidly developing before us? I think there'll be good things about it and there'll be bad things about it. But I want to argue, above all, a big picture positive for this world. You know, for 200 years, the world was essentially governed by a fragment of the human population. That's what Europe and North America represented. The arrival of countries like China and India, between them 38% of the world's population, and others like Indonesia and Brazil and so on, represents the most important single act of democratization in the last 200 years. Civilizations and cultures which have been ignored, which had no voice, which were not listened to, which were not known about, will have a different sort of representation in this world. As humanists, we must welcome, surely, this transformation. And we will have to learn about these civilizations. This big ship here was the one sailed in by Zhonghe in the early 15th century on his great voyages around the South China Sea, the East China Sea, and across the Indian Ocean to East Africa. The little boat in front of it was the one in which 80 years later Christopher Columbus crossed the Atlantic. Or look carefully at this silk scroll made by Zhuzhou in 1368. I think they're playing golf. Christ, the Chinese even invented golf. Welcome to the future. Thank you.
Okay. Any comment?
I think he's speaking on some things that has happened, that's gonna happen, and that is planning to happen. He's talking some stuff about China.
Right, that was 2010.
Right, exactly.
Okay, yeah. Want to say something?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, this next video is some Black history. We're gonna play it and we'll talk about it. Anybody else have anything on that video there? Okay, here we go.
Like many songs will tell you.
This is how the ghettos were designed. Like I say, everything they do is pre-planned.
The story of what housing and other living conditions look like for many Black Americans is pretty bleak, and that's by design. In addition to artists cataloging their very personal experiences, it's been proven that the modern phenomenon of concentrated Black poverty was an intentional government-sponsored institution. This is in part why President Biden issued an executive order back in January, intended to right the historical wrongs Black folks have faced when it comes to housing and home ownership in this country. But first, let's take it back.
The dawn of the 20th century, African Americans in major cities lived scattered throughout the city. They weren't segregated particularly. It's only with the Great Migration of 6 to 7 million African Americans north and west escaping the South, the predominant response of the United States government and state and local governments to the Great Migration was to contain Black people in their own neighborhoods. And HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, was particularly a part of this role. Precursors to HUD introduced and encouraged racially restrictive covenants, redlining of every major city where African Americans landed. The federal government was a sponsor of urban renewal, infamously called Negro removal by the great James Baldwin.
Urban renewal, which means moving Negroes out. It means Negro removal, is what it means. And the federal government is a compass to this fact.
That so-called urban renewal also included a federally sponsored interstate highway system, which was intentionally designed to move through vibrant Black neighborhoods. Take Miami, for example. Two highways, I-95 and I-395, bulldoze right through the predominantly Black and low-income Overtown neighborhood, previously called Colored Town during segregation.
The Department of Housing and Urban Development and the federal government writ large in the first 7 decades of the 20th century invested billions of dollars in racial segregation and concentrated poverty. Each time this country created a peculiar institution that subordinated Black people, slavery, Jim Crow, it created and dismantled it, they replaced it with another one. And the iconic Black ghetto, I don't use that as a pejorative, I use it as a descriptor, was a follow-on institution to slavery and Jim Crow. That's the legacy that every new administration inherits, and the Biden administration has as well.
Today, I'm directing the Department of Housing and Urban Affairs and Urban Development to redress historical racism in federal housing policies.
This executive order is just one of 4 signed by President Biden, designed to address racial equity in the United States. And while this progress is a step in the right direction, there's still a lot of harm to undo.
Segregation started coming down after the passage of the Fair Housing Act of 1968, which actually only got passed in the wake of Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination. In 1980, 8 out of 10 Black people would have had to move in order to be evenly integrated within metropolitan areas. Half of Black people who live in metropolitan areas still live in neighborhoods of high segregation. So we've had modest improvement, but segregation persists. And economic segregation has spiked since 1970. The so-called American dream is really working for a relatively small slice of the population that can afford to buy their way into what I call gold standard neighborhoods that have the best of everything, and everybody else struggles, and the Black poor struggle the most.
So what happens now? Well, some advocates are hopeful.
Home applauds this executive order for really focusing on historical patterns of racial segregation and discrimination in housing,
while others remain cautiously optimistic. Here's Professor.
So, like I was saying before, it's no different than what they're telling you right here. They're using these executive orders. You know, they're keeping us all balanced with all these executive orders. So what's the difference in an executive order than an HR? That's it. All of them is designed for deception. They all come from the government. They ain't coming from the Most High, because they got a plan. They got an end time plan, just like the Most High got an end time plan.
Professor Cashin's suggestion. I don't take credit for this, but I applaud it. There should be an equity analysis. The federal government spends so much money, it should track who's getting it by neighborhood, and it should pursue racial equity in the distribution of resources. There's a lot of movement at the local level on this. I'll give the example of Baltimore. They did an equity analysis and found that they were spending 4 times as much money in majority white neighborhoods as majority black ones. I think we're in this moment where people are waking up, sad to say, because of the slow execution of George Floyd, to the realities of systemic racism. And I believe there is an ascending majority multiracial coalition that wants something better than a separate and nation that overinvests in some neighborhoods and disinvests and preys upon other neighborhoods. I'm hopeful, but you can never stop working for it, organizing for the country you want. Generations more radical, less tired than me. There's always another generation coming.
Okay, any comment? Okay. Anybody get anything out of that? Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yes, okay.
Okay. This is the last one right here. So, get it right here. Okay, no, it's over here. My bad.
It's time that we have a court that reflects the full talents and greatness of our nation with a nominee of extraordinary qualifications.
What's up, family? This is your man, not your boy. Go Black to Africa. So, I want to share this right here that President Biden, he had nominated a sister, which is Ketanji Brown Jackson. You know, she was the DC's, the District Court of Appeals there in Washington, D.C. And, you know, it's good to see that, you know what, we're possibly going to have our second African-American on the Supreme Court justice, with Clarence Thomas being that other Supreme Court judge. And it's a proud moment for us as a people. But watch the video and I'll be back.
It's time that we have a court that reflects the full talents and greatness of our nation with a nominee of extraordinary qualifications. And that we inspire all young people to believe that they can one day serve their country at the highest level.
Here's some things we know so far about the nominee. She was born in Washington, D.C., grew up in Florida. She studied government and law at Harvard University. She worked for 3 federal judges, including Justice Stephen Breyer, the man she's nominated to replace. Jackson is married to a surgeon who she met at Harvard. They have 2 daughters. Today, she talked about some of her beliefs and what she hopes will happen if she's confirmed.
I can only hope that my life and career, my love of this country and the Constitution, and my commitment to upholding the rule of law and the sacred principles upon which this great nation was founded will inspire future generations of Americans.
Okay.
I have some questions, and it's good that we are being placed in positions. But has anybody noticed that typically when we get set in these high positions, there's a connection when you have white in your family? Now, I know I'm not, look, I got white in my family. I'm talking about the close network of either parents was either one or the other, or, European, or, you might have been mixed from another race or what have you. President Obama, for instance, okay, his mother was white, his dad was African. Now, hey, whether you want to claim black, white, or whatever it is, it's to each his own business. But I'm just saying, can we think of anyone who straight up, not married to somebody who is white, or parents that are white that have held high positions? Please share in the comments or send me an email and let me know those who are holding in high positions that don't have those connections. Because I think it's almost like prejudice in a sense that when you have those brothers and sisters who have a strong African, descent of you being with your spouse who is also African descent, where are they in the governmental bodies? When you see Kamala Harris, who wants to claim that she's black, on one instant that benefits her to speak to a people in her setting to say she's black, can go to another setting and claim another nationality. Her dad was from, I think, Haiti. And so she can claim both sides, but there is that connection of being part Indian from her mother. Now, when you look at Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court Justice, who is married to a white woman, these people who do nominations and setting people in positions, are they afraid that you might be too black, too Pan-African, showing the Pan-Africanism that for a people that you can't think, beyond just your color, if you are judges, presidents, can you, we have senators, there's only been 11 African-American senators. In these positions, it just appeared to me that if you got somebody on your arm to claim, mama was white, daddy was white, I'm married to a white, then you might be perceived that you're not too black. I don't know, but I'm just saying, raising the eyebrow. But anyways, it is good for our children who wants to be in, we live in these Western worlds, to see somebody that looks like them, that can get at a position. And hopefully the day comes where there is not without a question, a concern, like raising my eyebrows, of did they get that position because they married to a white person? Did they get that position because their parents is white? Did they get that position because they have an affiliation with, one that looks like them who are doing the nominating? But it's still an advancement, whatever it takes, I guess, because even those who claim to be Pan-African, Marcus Garvey, he went to Europe to go live. Now, I know they say that some are saying that, they didn't allow him into Africa. But then you have Frederick Douglass, who wind up marrying a white woman. And you find that, okay, where is this? But best believe that when it comes down for any position, all men and women really should be selected straight up because they are the best for that position.
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody got any comments what they think about that? Okay, yeah. So like I was saying before, that's what I was saying about it. I mean, we can't. Everything has been planned and plotted on everything that happened to us over here. And so when you know, it should be a relief to know that, to find it out, because when we making certain moves and not understanding that, you know, you're being plotted and schemed on. So you're thinking it's because of you or whatever is going on with you, but it ain't. It's been, you know, it's been plotted and schemed on your great-great-grandfather for you, and your father and mother before you even came along. And so not to know that is detrimental. Okay? So I'm hoping some of this information is rubbing off on some people, but I'm gonna play this right here and then I'm gonna close out. Here we go.
The Book of Psalms, Psalm 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish.
Okay. Okay, that right there, I'm going to say shalom to everybody. And like I said, I hope this information is helping somebody. And we got the women's line tomorrow, so somebody going to volunteer to read the Psalms, and they want to volunteer for the women's health segment. Okay.
I can do the health. I can do the health one.
Okay.
I'll find out. Just look up some stuff for tomorrow.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom to everybody, and I'll see you at all the women tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And then we'll have see everybody again on Friday. Shalom.
I'll do the Psalms tomorrow. Shalom.
Okay.
Shalom.
All right. Shalom.